to penetrate right to the source of pain for fast-acting and long-lasting relief. X out your joint pain with Joint Flex, now with turmeric.
A stunning new bit of reporting in the Washington Post that underscores just how Donald Trump is unlike any other president in history, and not in the good ways. Washington Post reports the CIA's most endangered employee for much of the past year was not an operative on a mission abroad, but an analyst who faced a torrent of threats after filing a whistleblower report that led to the impeachment of Donald Trump. The analyst spent months living in no-frills hotels under surveillance by CIA security. He was driven to work by armed officers in an unmarked sedan. On the few occasions he was allowed to re-enter his home to retrieve belongings, a security team had to sweep the apartment first to make sure it was safe. Let that sink in for a second. The CIA had to go to great lengths to protect an employee from a security threat sparked by their own boss, President Donald J. Trump. Our next guest is out with a new book with a damning indictment of the Trump presidency. He uses just one word to describe Donald Trump: traitor. Joining our conversation, David Rothkopf, visiting scholar at the Carnegie Endowment for Peace and author of the new book, Traitor, A History of American Betrayal from Benedict Arnold to Donald Trump. Because I can feel him smiling from here, Jason Johnson is still with us. David, take me through the thesis of this book, Donald Trump as a Traitor.
Well, the thesis is that, Donald Trump is a lot of things. He's a liar, he's a racist, he's a misogynist, he's corrupt. But I don't think we should lose track of the fact that from the beginning, he has been involved in betraying the country. You know, the presidency, as you know very well, is one of those rare jobs that begins by taking an oath. You take an oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. And almost immediately, Donald Trump betrayed that oath, broke that oath. And it begins, as Nancy Pelosi says, with Russia. It always comes back to Russia. He embraced the assistance of our most notable adversary in the world. He did it in a way that involved stolen materials. He then defended them. He then rewarded them. He pursued policies that no other president would have pursued. And he gave deference to their leader over our CIA, over our FBI. Now, he's betrayed the country in a lot of other ways. Clearly, he's put his political interests ahead of the country, national interests with regard to COVID. He's put his financial interests ahead of the country with regard to a whole host of other things. But I don't think we should lose sight of this, and I think we should look at it in a non-inflammatory way. By comparing it to what else has happened in our history. So that's what I did. I went back to the beginning, back to Benedict Arnold. I looked at people who betrayed the country through the Civil War, through the 20th century, and I said, how does this guy compare? And I have to say, he doesn't compare very well.
Jason, I wanted you to be part of this conversation because I think the way we've talked about Donald Trump matters. And I admire David for using the word traitor. And I think it's so interesting that the people who have inched toward uncovering facts that might have revealed Donald Trump as a traitor, Andy McCabe opened a full field investigation to Donald Trump when he wondered if he might be working to advance Russia's national security instead of ours. The CIA has placed intelligence in front of Donald Trump about bounties being placed on the heads of American soldiers. And he didn't read it. He didn't call Putin to yell at him. He attacked the American intelligence agencies. And Axios reported a couple days ago that the first thing he plans to do if he wins is to fire the head of the CIA, fire his own appointee at the FBI. Right. So what do you make of David's frame of Donald Trump as a traitor?
So what really frightens me, Nicole, is if you think of the classic traitor, right? We think of Benedict Arnold. He sold out America to the British, right? So it's the idea of someone betraying our country to another nation. What I find most disturbing about Donald Trump's portrayal is he is betraying America, but in the minds of too many people in this country, over 40%, he's actually a patriot. They believe in an America that none of the rest of us believe in. They think that Donald Trump is a patriot. They don't think he is a traitor. They think he is serving a white nationalist apartheid state America that they want to recreate. So what disturbs me, and I can ask this of David because this is always interesting to me, what is the America that he thinks he's serving?
Well, I think Donald Trump thinks he's serving himself. But with Benedict Arnold, the loyalists agreed with him, and with Jefferson Davis, there were the people in the South who agreed with him on his view of creating the Confederacy in order to protect the institution of slavery. So this has happened before. I don't think it's ever happened, of course, with a president of the United States. And that's really what sets it apart, because the ability of this one man to do damage to the country is so much greater than any other traitor we've ever faced.
David, I want to read an excerpt from the book. You write, the 2020 election presents us with an existential choice. If we re-elect this wannabe authoritarian, this puppet of foreign autocrats, he and they will not just be validated, but empowered. Whatever Trump's motivation, we have seen him remake our judiciary and undermine our system of justice. He has degraded America on the global stage and profoundly weakened us. All that is the price of his betrayals to date. Should he be given 4 more years to carry them forward, our democracy might never recover. I picked that one because Elizabeth Newman, who worked for Donald Trump in the Department of Homeland Security, made an eerily similar point about 15 minutes ago on this program, that what she fears is the second term. You paint it in pretty dark terms yourself. Is that the big worry? Not what has already happened, but what happens if he's reelected?
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons for the book is that it's easy to lose sight of the gravity of his abuses because there's a scandal every day. There's a tweet every 10 minutes. It's easy to lose sight of the fact that just a couple of months ago, the former director of national intelligence said that the only conclusion he could draw was that the Russians had something on him. This is a former Republican senator from Indiana. You just mentioned him thinking that perhaps his next move will be to get rid of the head of the CIA and to get rid of the head of the FBI. That's not to make us safer. That's to make him safer. And imagine what will happen to NATO if he gets another 4 years. Imagine what alliances will fall by the wayside, what international institutions will fall by the wayside, who he will draw closer to, and what steps he will take to protect himself. We have seen him break every norm, break a series of laws, have a series of investigations that were bipartisan or led by Republicans that have demonstrated conclusively about his ties and his willingness to forsake the American people to advance his own interests. And now we're presented with the possibility that he could win re-election and actually do worse, because think of a Donald Trump who doesn't have to worry about re-election.
Just his news coverage. And what's so interesting, David, is that John Bolton reaches a lot of the same conclusions as you do from the other side of the ideological spectrum about NATO, about the corruption of foreign policy for personal and financial gain. Thank you so much for spending some time with us to talk about the book. It's great. David and Jason, we're grateful to both of you. David's new book, Traitor, A History of American Betrayal from Benedict Arnold to Donald Trump. When we return, Donald Trump says we're rounding the corner on coronavirus. Now a new memo from the White House goes even further than that, trying to take credit for ending the pandemic. Just